Hey everyone, you see electric vehicles everywhere now, right? But there's this really startling side to their science that you almost never hear about. So today we're going to dig into the raw numbers and the pretty shocking chemistry behind EV battery fires. Okay, let's start with just one single number. I'm not going to give you any context, no explanation, just a raw figure that is really the foundation for this entire story. 2,500 degrees Celsius. Yep, that's the number. Just let that sink in for a second. This is the kind of temperature we're talking about during what's called a thermal runaway event inside a lithium-ion battery. Now, let's be honest. A number that big, it's kind of meaningless on its own, isn't it? So we've got to ground this in reality. What does 2,500 degrees Celsius actually do? All right, first up, aluminum. You know, it's a key material in a lot of car chassis. It melts at 660 degrees Celsius. Our fire, well, it's already burning at nearly 4 times that temperature. But oh, we can go further. So let's raise the stakes a bit. What about something tougher? What about steel? You know, a core component of pretty much every modern vehicle, built to be strong and resilient, while steel melts at a blistering 14 degrees Celsius. And right there, that's the whole point. The fire inside an EV battery at 2,500 degrees isn't just hot. It is so incredibly hot, it can literally melt steel. This is not your average car fire. We are talking about a totally different kind of beast. Okay, so we've covered the what, this incredible, mind-blowing heat. But the real question, the one we need to answer, is why? What is happening at a chemical level that makes this fire so fundamentally different from, say, a gasoline fire? Well, the answer is this wild little concept, self-oxidizing. It means the chemical reaction that's happening inside the battery, it's actually producing its own oxygen. Just think about that for a second. It's a fire that makes its own air. It doesn't need to breathe. And that leads to this really critical point. You know, with any normal fire, what's rule number 1? Smother it. Cut off the oxygen. But here, you can't. You cannot smother this fire because it literally feeds itself. It's got its own life support system built right in. So if you can't smother it, what do you do? How do you actually fight one of these things? Well, on the ground, for firefighters, the consequences are just staggering. And just look at the difference here. A standard gas car fire, you're looking at maybe 2,000 liters of water. It's usually out in just a few minutes. An EV battery fire, though, it can take up to 100,000 liters of water, and it can burn for hours. The scale is just completely off the charts. 100,000 liters. What does that even look like? Well, picture an entire backyard swimming pool. That's how much water it can take just to control a single EV fire. And you're not even really putting it out, you're just trying to cool the reaction down. But believe it or not, the story isn't over just because the flames are gone. Actually, this is where it gets truly unsettling. This fire has one last nasty trick up its sleeve. The danger is far from over. See, the problem is that this chemical reaction is happening deep down inside the battery cells, so the only way to stop it is to cool the very core of the battery. And sometimes, the only option is to do something that sounds, well, kind of insane. Submerge the entire car in a giant container of water for 2, sometimes even 3 full days. So you'd think after 72 hours completely submerged in a pool of water, the battle's gotta be won. The fire is out, it has to be, right? Nope, not even close. Even after all of that, the chemical reaction can just restart. Days later, with zero warning, the battery can spontaneously reignite. The fire can literally come back from the dead. So let's just recap for a second, because this is wild. What we're dealing with here isn't just a hotter car fire. It is an entirely new class of fire, with a completely different set of rules. It has extreme heat that can melt steel, it's self-sustaining, making its own oxygen, it takes a massive amount of resources to fight, and it can remain a threat, a persistent threat, long after you think it's gone. And all of this really leaves us with one huge, critical question. This technology is absolutely the future, but it's bringing challenges our old safety standards were never, ever designed for. So the big takeaway is this. As we race toward this electric future, how do we re-engineer safety for a fire that literally defies the rules we've relied on for 100 years?